Thank you so much. Oh, it's wonderful to be here. We've had Diva coming to serve our church in London Church in Niantic for quite a few years. Yeah, I know. Not even going to go there. Okay. I actually asked for that song before we speak, and when I say we, it's because my guys are here with me, and they're really inspiring me the words to say, because I don't know you, but my guides do, and your guides do, and they know better than I do what to share and what would be meaningful for you. But you can't go wrong with that song. I think today, more than ever, it could be an anthem. It's like a prayer, and who knew? I think back to when the Beatles came to America. My father was determined that they were going to be the ruin of us all. Those long-haired hippies come to destroy us, and, you know, all of that. Well, he's up there with John Lennon now, and I wonder how they're getting on. Who would have thought that long-haired hippie, you know, the one with the bowl cut front, would be such a prophet, would become such a visionary. There is so much in that song, starting with imagine, because when we imagine something, we're thinking it, but we're also drawing it to us. We imagine the positive. Wouldn't it be nice if we all lived that way in that song and just only imagined the good things and the positive things, and that's what we do? But that's not really human nature yet. We like to say yet. It's something to strive for. And what I'm feeling, my guys are strongly encouraging me to talk about a little bit about is monitoring our thoughts because of the energy behind them. And our energies go out into the world. Now, we're spiritualists, and unfortunately, our numbers are fairly low right now compared to what they were, say, 60, 70, even 100 years ago. We use the Pine Grove Temple in Niantic for the summertime, and on the walls they have pictures of gatherings, dinners at the conferences of spiritualists, the local conferences. And there have to be 200 people in there. It was a big deal a long time ago. We sort of moved away from that. But now, more than ever, it's important for us to come back to that and to bring our energies to what spiritualism is really about. Because that song states it so beautifully. It's about being one. And isn't part of the point of mediumship and connecting with others on the other side of life to teach us what it's like on the other side of life, why we're here in the earth school? Because we're really spirits in an earth body. And we're in, say, a college down on earth. We're here to learn. And one young man on the spirit side of life expressed it so beautifully. In fact, there's a book called Flying High in Spirit, the Mikey Morgan story, 3 or 4 years ago. And it just explains life on the other side as I've known it through message work. So simply. And so it's very contemporary, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. I loaned my Kindle to my friend at the beach just so she could look at it. 4 hours later, she handed it back. She'd read the whole book. She couldn't put it down. But he talks about his experience in coming to Earth was to learn, and that's what we're here for. Now, we kind of know the answer in the back of our mind, but it's the process of doing all the steps to get there. It's love. Well, he said on the spirit side of life, they're always in school, and you're always learning things and always growing and developing. But to come to Earth is to put it into practice. And he likened it to learning how to drive. He said if you read the manual, it will tell you everything you need to do and how to drive, right there in print. But you don't learn how to drive until you get behind the car, the wheel of the car. You may have to take the test and remember how many feet you stop from a stop sign or how many car lengths from this and that. But how many of you have been in a car and thought, I'm 6 car lengths away, I'm 50 feet from that stop sign. I know that once I took the test, and it became application, it became doing, and that's how we learned it. And Mikey says that's what it's like, and why we choose to come to the Earth School. It's because we're putting into practical application what we're trying to learn on the other side. And it's not easy. It's a lot harder than driving a car. And this time that we're in is unprecedented. There hasn't been, and it's not just in this country, it's globally, all over. First of all, there are more people on the planet than there ever have been before, because more people have incarnated more quickly to learn their lessons. And there's been some overlap from the past that's come through too, and brought some stronger energies. There's a lot of things going on in the world, on our planet, in our nation, and in our homes that is difficult. But it's to teach us, because we are in school. Now, I speak in churches all over, and it almost seems like I go on sort of a circuit. I'll do 3 or 4 in a row, and it always seems like there's been some kind of event that is the basis. Something that is so totally unexpected, like COVID. Who saw that one coming, right? It taught us to stay home and go within. The fires in Maui, what was that all about? Nobody saw that one coming. All about that anger burning up there. The volcanoes, the tsunamis. Mother Nature, Mother Earth, is unhappy. She's revolting too. But what happens when there's an eruption? You get all you get all the negativity out. It's becoming a cleansing. It's the hard way, but it's happening. So that brings me on to what's going on in our world right now, today, in our nation. I should probably give my disclaimer. It goes something along the line of, these are solely the opinions expressed by myself and my guides, and not necessarily that of spiritualism or blah, 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 but you know what I'm saying. Because we don't talk about politics, and we're not going to talk about politics much. Because it's really not about politics, what's going on. But there's a powerful lesson to be learned in this. Because what's happening with the candidates, and it's really, I think back to when I was in economics class, the only thing that I ever learned in economics was macro is outside itself, big, global, and micro is within. So what's going on in the world outside of ourselves is representative of what's going on inside. Remember, our thoughts are things and have energy. And so what we're seeing, this isn't about the candidates. This is about the division. It's about red versus blue, but coming into the families within. People are so divided on this and so passionate on either side. It's never been like this in politics before. You know, many previous candidates before, I'm hopefully older than I look, I can remember going back like before Kennedy. And one thing that, skipping around a little bit here, but one thing that Kennedy talked about that we've gotten so far away from is ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. Because in today's climate, it's become backwards. It's because, what about me? What can you do for me? What can my country do for me? And that's causing such a separation and a division. There are family members that don't speak to each other, longtime friends that aren't friends anymore. because one is blue and one is red. Big picture. It's not about the two people that are running for office. It's about what's happening to us, to our humanity, to our love, how it's dividing us. And I'm getting chills, that means they really want me to emphasize this so that we understand that these, they're putting the words in my head and I hardly even want to say, our teachers, okay, like I say, they're here to teach us something. And it's not an easy lesson to learn. So again, in order to do so, we have to kind of step outside and look at the bigger picture. Because at the end of the day, after the election, is it really going to matter if you're getting you know, a small tax cut here or a savings over here, if your loved ones are no longer speaking to you? Think about what this is doing and how we as spiritualists can do something about it. Because every problem has a solution. And the one thing that we can do is use our energy in a correct way, according to nature. And I'm not suggesting that anybody run around and be like all, be happy. What's that Cornell Williams song? Don't worry, be happy. No, we're humans. We have to be realistic. But we also can look at the bigger picture. We can ask through our prayers for help, for guidance. Ask your loved ones on the other side to put thoughts in your head to inspire you for positive action. And truly monitor your thoughts. I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and they may seem silly and mundane, just to show you how important or how powerful your thoughts and your energy are. And had I thought about this before, I would have set somebody up sitting out there to demonstrate this for me. Would somebody like to yawn? Yawn? What happens when somebody yawns, when you see somebody yawn?
You yawn.
You yawn.
Were you tired before that other person yawned?
You just need more oxygen in your brain.
Well, that's true. I think we all need a little
I think
more.
we all. Agreed.
Well point. I was in Marshall's a while ago, and I was standing in line waiting, and you know, they have the row going down, and there's all the cashiers. And I'm waiting my turn, and I looked at the one on me, and she yawned, and she kind of right down the line, all five of them. Yawned. And I put my head down, I was observing it, but I didn't want to catch it. And I thought that was a message from Spirit, because it was like the day before that I was going to speak, and it was just showing me how powerful our energy is. It's a silly little thing, right? But it happens all the time. How many times have you been in your car, you're driving along, and a car pulls up next to you, and you don't look at the person, but you're aware of them. And then when you do look, they're looking at you because they caught your energy, knowing that you were looking at them. Probably maybe saying something not wonderful because they cut you off or whatever. But when you're stopped, you know when that person in the other car is thinking about you when you're driving. You had that experience? You're in a car, the window's probably up on both sides, but it's still energy. That's what's doing it. There are so many ways that our energy connects with other people. These are the mundane ways. But think of the bigger ways. Have you ever, I used to have an experience where we had a woman in a group of our women's meeting, and she was a little bit sad and kind of depressed. She was a wonderful, wonderful woman, and when she reached out to help another person, it was really interesting because all her depression fell away, and she was 100% there for the other woman that she was helping. But if she was just having a bad day, sitting there, and she'd be walking in the back door, maybe 25 feet behind me, and I could be all da, 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 and suddenly I'm like, you could just feel it was like Eeyore came into the room. Didn't look, you just knew. You ever had the experience of somebody you love comes into a room and you're not looking, but you suddenly know they're there. You sense or feel their presence. All that's about the energy that comes off of us. And these are little things, but think outside of ourselves on a macro level. If that energy is coming off of me in the same amount of you, and you going out into the world, see how we're being affected by other people's energies as well. So what they're saying is to try to get back into your hearts. The only way that we're going to come out of this debacle, political term, unscathed, so to speak, is if we live within our hearts and are true to our intuition. Because when we're feeling this divide, brother versus brother, something within us doesn't feel right. But it's easy to ignore because there's so much going on. There's so much going on in there. We've got this to do and that to do. And did you know that doing things and doing projects is a form of avoidance? It's an addiction. Yeah. I was surprised one of my spiritual leaders told me that once many years ago. He said that there were 900 of us in a room. And I had recently become involved in a 12-step program and addressed some things. He looked around and said, every single one of you that's sitting in here is addicted. And, you know, it sounded very stupid. Not me anymore. And without even looking at me, you know, he just shot us all down. He said, oh yes, all of you. Even the ones that think that you've given up the drink, the drug, the game, you know, all the different things, the outer addictions that we see. He said, you're all addicted, and you will continue to be addicted because it's the human condition. And you will stay that way until you find something better. Be addicted to doing good works, to being busy, to cleaning your house, to going to yoga or working out, going to the gym. You know, sometimes I think, I wish I could have just a little tiny bit of that addiction. You know, not the full throttle, but enough to get maybe an hour a day would serve me well. Hasn't worked like that in my life. Anything that is escapism that takes you away from your true self, from that little voice that's kind of down here, that says, maybe a course correction, maybe this, maybe that, that brings you into a place where your ego is uncomfortable. And how do we address addiction? They have a 12-step program that has started in, oh God, I don't know, like the 40s, maybe late 30s.
30s, late 30s.
Late 30s, yeah, like 38. And I love it because it's so like spiritualism. Turn it over to a higher power. Admit that you're avoiding. They don't ask you, they just say a higher power, a power greater than yourself. A woman once said to me, Brenda, the only thing you need to know about God and the life that you're going to enter is that it's not you. That's it. You're halfway home when you get that. Because the God of Brenda brought you here. So maybe let's give it over to a higher power. Try something new. And we came to believe that that would work. That would help us. We took some inventory of, you know, how our egos or our self-will had sort of gotten into trouble and run amok. And did the next right thing. Eventually we made amends. It's like the declarations say, do the right thing. Well, what's interesting about this, and it started with alcohol, but it's gone on to address everything, you know, from narcotics and gambling and shopping and eating and blah, blah, blah. But it's the same principle. It works. Millions of people have been able to live a full life without alcohol. Let's just talk about that one, because that was the original, the baby, that all the rest of them came from. Believe me, all the scientists, all the doctors have been trying to find a pill, because that's real, we do love to have a pill to make things go away, to cure that addiction. Nothing has worked except spirituality. That in itself proves it. And yes, many people do fail. But what happens? Why? Because they stop following the principles, turning it over to a higher power, to listening to the voice within, and to receiving spiritual guidance. Now in the program, they receive their guidance mainly from the other people in the room, through their shares. Somebody will share something and it's exactly what that person needed to hear for their own problem. That's very similar to what we do in here, isn't it? Through our message work. I may give you a message and it may be exactly what you over there need to hear. It kind of works that way because it's coming from a higher source. It's not coming from our heads or our egos.
Power off.
In case you can get that, we'll just have a little emphasis on that one.
Yeah. Perfect time.
In spiritualism, when I pray, I always ask that my ego step aside. In 12 steps, it's our will. Because when we're running on will or ego, we're not running on God. We're not running on our true selves. And that's what we're being called to do today with the climate that we're in. Because we're facing a crisis that's not of nature. It's man's inhumanity to man. It's everybody being out for themselves as opposed to what the song says. Because if we were all one, we wouldn't need borders or boundaries. We wouldn't need religion that divides us. We would all be one with ourselves and each other. And I'll just close by saying I do a lot of shamanic work, and I have studied with peoples and tribes, indigenous people throughout Central and South America. And I've gone places in the middle of the Amazon where the tribes people would be considered by many to be savage. They don't have shoes, they don't have a dental plan, they don't have an education, but they are smarter in so many, well, I wouldn't say smart, I would say wiser. They are so much wiser than we are. And I've been very blessed to have the experience of spending time with some of these people. They live together in a community they share. They're not competitive. They live in accordance with nature. They respect nature. They can walk through the jungle barefoot because they don't have shoes anyway. And you know, the white people come down there, we've got our boots and our mosquito nets and our snake sticks and all of that. They just go through and they're never bothered by any of that because of the way their energy aligns with the natural world. They don't get the scorpion bites or the venom snakes or the frights or any of that. It's, you know, a little bit terrifying. But then when white people come into that world with all our education and our knowledge, we can't navigate because our energy is so separate from the natural world. And fear brings, if you look at people's energy during healing, fear comes out like, it almost looks like little black jags in a healing session. And fear draws negativity to us. So I've been thinking back about some of the people that I did meet when I was in the Andes and the Amazon, and how simple they were. It was like the simplest declaration. But they had one thing that we don't have. And that's genuine happiness and love. In support of one another. And they don't have things, they don't have electronics, they don't have fancy clothes or any of that, and they don't judge. Because that's not important. They're living from their spirit. And we have so much to learn from that kind of simplicity. Now that we are in a climate where we're being torn apart as people. I just want to, okay. Before I do messages, I picked another song. I'm just going to end with this. I don't want to leave with the, this is the crisis we're in without the solution. And again, it's prayer. It's asking for help because there is so much help up there. They can't intercede in any way if you don't ask. And doing it once, on Tuesday, doesn't count for the whole rest of the week. Please help me. It's not like a one and done thing. Okay, angels, please guide me through my life. Yeah. They say often the angels watching, like my spirit guides watching me try to navigate and follow their guidance. It's like when you're driving down the road and you're watching the squirrel trying to decide if it's going to go like this or that in front of your car. And you're sitting in the car waiting to see where it's going to go. Well, that's what my guides are like, watching me. We need to ask for help, ask for guidance, ask for the very highest guidance that you can withhold. And then listen. They say through meditation, but meditation puts a connotation on it that you have to kind of sit absolutely still, like a pretzel maybe thrown in. Meditation is just a quieting of the mind, however it works for you, just not listening to the ego's tape. Because there is a way out of this. And it's through energy and it's through love. Just being the love that you are, because love, and that energy of love is, even Albert Einstein said it, is the most powerful force on the planet. So I will leave you with that. And blessings of spirit.
Thank you.
Thank you.